When you compete on any platform, the winner of competition is the market. So I said that to say this. You talked about people driving into petrol stations and seeing prices go down. That's a plot. But to get there, you cannot get there without a deregulated or a free market.
Okay.
That said, and let's take a step backward. Some years back, we found out that NNPC as a company was the sole importer of petroleum products.
Yes.
And that happened for about 9 to 10 years in all. What that meant is that there wasn't a basis for competition because everybody had to buy from NNPC. So that's it. The next thing is that you find out that when a market is fully deregulated, so the May 29, 2023 subsidy is gone, meant that two things were going to happen. And one happened from the private side. So let's be clear. The Dangote Refinery came in where Nigeria had zero refining capacity.
Yes.
So that's a massive plus. But that's one. Now, we have importers who had been bringing in petroleum products, some through NNPC, some bringing in on their own. It meant that there was a level playing ground in terms of if I don't buy from A, I can buy from B. But back to what we're saying, it is competition that drives that. At a certain stage, if someone takes a full control, and I'll use the word full control of a market, the Dangote Refinery in itself is what you call a super refinery. It's large, it's brand new, it has a very high Nelson index. And not to complicate anything, a Nelson index just speaks to how well your refinery can crack crude.
So you're saying it has state of the art.
Brilliant. That's the best way to put it.
Okay.
So look at it that there's a Ferrari and there's a Toyota. So let's just leave it at that. Now,
who's the Ferrari? Who's the Toyota?
That's it. So that said, what now happens is that for competition to continue to thrive, a lot of players need to come into the mix.
Okay.
And when those players come into the mix, there needs to be someone who guides how those players come into the mix. That's a regulator. So you find out that as the prices go down, and let's stay with that for a bit, two things had happened. Crude oil prices started to drop at a certain time. When crude oil prices drop, by a fluxion, what happens is that prices of distillates, AGO, PMS, based on the quotes that you use to trade them, also begin to drop. So the first wind was that the refinery decided that, look, with this price drops, let me go ahead and drop prices. That was on the one hand. The second hand is that the size of that refinery will drive efficiencies that an old refinery cannot, right? So in terms of margins, and let me stick on this for just a bit, the sole purpose of a refinery is to refine crude oil into petroleum products. When that is done, and I'm going to use numbers now, if I have $1 million in terms of how much I buy crude, the aim of that refinery is to refine into petroleum products and be able to sell, let's say, $1.2 million.
Just so I'm clear, is it just so these petroleum products don't have to end at AGO and PMS?
Brilliant.
So there's petrochemicals and other things.
So it's the full. So back to what we said about the Nelson index of the Dangote Refinery. It can crack. So right now they started what you call polymers, and let's just say we're looking at things that give you the ability to make plastics. So they've gone there. So, but the aim is this: every time you take $1 million worth of crude, your aim is to maximize what you have refined. To be able to sell products what, let's say 1.2. That is called a crack spread. Now, if I decide to discount some of my petroleum products based on the fact that I have some excess and I decide to go into the market to take a market leadership position, then I can discount. Now, what would happen is that if I'm the market leader, it is very, very likely that the market chasers do not want to be caught out. So what will happen is that they'll try and move their prices as close as possible to still take some of those market shares.
I see.
I said that to say this, just to end this opening statement. A new refinery drives efficiencies. An old one does not. So what you find out is that the newer a refinery is in terms of efficiency, they're higher. So you find out competition now, maybe the NNPC refineries are not as new. They're old.
They're not new.
That's right. They're not as new.
Yeah.
They're old. And they're not as efficient anymore.
Okay.
So what you find out is that they might struggle to give the discount that a new refinery is willing and able to give.
Okay.